Peace and greetings to you. This is Dr. O, the PA Pro, otherwise known as Omar Abdul Malik. I'm here in front of the 7-Eleven. I'm in southeast DC. This area is probably one of has one of the highest homicide rates, if not DC, then the country. And I just wanted to tell you all about this exchange I just had. And this deviates from my usual videos about how to get into PA school and so forth. But I felt it was important given the violence that we're seeing. I mean, it's almost overwhelming. And as a clinician, I see the end results of it. I see the people who are victims of gunshot wounds and beatings. So I was in line, and I saw these two officers in line, and I offered to pay for their items, and they politely refused. Sorry for the shaky camera here. They politely refused, but they agreed to take a picture with me, and we just chatted for a while outside of the 7-Eleven. I just talked about the violence, and I told them that about the medical training I had done in trauma surgery and emergency medicine, pediatrics. Just working. Most of it was in the ER at DC General Hospital in the late 90s, and this is when DC was coined the murder capital of the world, because we had, this city had the highest rate of murders, I guess, per population. It's a small city, and we had a very high homicide rate, and we still have a very high homicide rate. And one of the things we were discussing is that how in each of our professions, the people who use poor judgment, or the people who are just flat out corrupt, often are seen as reflective of the entire profession. As a clinician, I can relate to this. If there's a doctor or a PA or a nurse who does something that's against the oath that we take, it says do no harm. If they violate patients' rights or steal or just do things that are flat out that are wrong, that they know are wrong. Unfortunately, it's say, oh, you know how those doctors are, you know how those PAs are. And the same thing is for police officers. You got a police officer, kills an unarmed black man, or an unarmed any person, when they could have used another means of subduing the person, other than taking the person's life. This, unfortunately, is seen as indicative of the entire police force, and that's not the case. The police force, many of the people, I'll say, go into the police force to protect people. I know a lot of them. Just like people in my profession, people that become physician assistants and doctors and other healthcare professionals, go in because they want to help people. You're not trying to hurt people. So I'm kind of rambling again. It's a side effect of getting off from work. But I hope that those of us that are willing to talk, sometimes we've seen, even in this campaign year, a lot of screaming and hollering and vitriol, spewed back and forth. When we're screaming at each other and hollering at each other, you can't really hear a person. You can't listen. Sometimes you need to speak softly and actually try to listen to what another person is saying. And, the officers and they were white officers, by the way. I don't know what their religion affiliation is. Here I am, a Muslim who's African American, here in I guess you'd call this the hood. But I think there's elements of the society that would say that we're we're on polar opposites as far as being humans, but you know, we're the same. You know, we both talked about the need for safety, you know, the desire for peace, you know, how we grew up, how we got into our, you know, why we chose our respective professions. And I'd like to see more conversation. I think those of us that are willing to stop doing a lot of yelling, and I understand why we yell. And there's a book I read many years ago, I think by an author named Ralph Wiley, Why Black People Tend to Shout. You know, people yell when they're angry. They yell when they're fed up. They yell when they feel powerless. You know, sometimes they just yell because they're ignorant. You know, ignorant. But you know, if maybe we can do less yelling, more listening, and more actual real conversing, two-way conversing, maybe there'll be less violence. You know, I think that's maybe a naive perspective, but those of us that are at least willing to talk to each other, maybe that'll curb the violence. I don't know. Maybe the interaction that I had with these two white officers, you know, as a black man, maybe they had misgivings about black men, and now meeting me, maybe they'll think differently. Who knows? And then me talking to two white officers, you know, maybe that did something to mitigate some of the misgivings I may have had about white police officers. I don't think I have a lot. I have great, tremendous respect for police officers, or so-called boys in blue. It's not an easy job. Yeah, I don't care who you are. When somebody's breaking into your house, you know, the first people you call are the police. And you know, people have broken into my property. I had people break into my car. I called the police. You know, I didn't call my brothers. I called the police. Gave a police report. But yeah, I ask God to try to help those of us that are trying to kind of establish a collective intelligence. I hope that our efforts can overcome a lot of what I think is a kind of a collective ignorance of just screaming and hollering and murder, you know, flat out murder on both sides, and whatever side that is. I hope that we can do something to decrease this violence, because it seems like it's just getting worse. I don't know about some of you all, but I hear the news and it's like, oh, another killing, another bombing, another terrorist attack, another you know, cop shot, or another officer shooting an unarmed person, and it gets numbing after a while. You know, I see death, I see sick people every day. That's what I do. I work in a hospital, so it's easy to become numb to it. I don't want to become numb to it. I hope as a society we remain sensitive to the loss of lives, and we don't see taking the lives of others as the means of overcoming violence. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You know, somebody does something violent to somebody else, so you take it out on another group of people. No good can come from that. I think those of us who are in the healthcare professions, and I know as a physician assistant, I feel very strongly about this. I spent my entire adult life training to be a lifesaver and not a life taker. It really pains me to see what's going on in society, but I ramble as usual. So I hope what I've said can be of some benefit to some of you all. Try to be as peaceful as you can. You know, try to spread goodwill. But please, I ask you to please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and leave your comments in the comment section. Peace.